This DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching. Go.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday night. We are here. We are with you.
Well, at least most of us are with us tonight. Although Dan is looking pretty sharp this evening.
It's a nice blue shirt you have there, Dan.
Yeah. This will be a great show because Dan's going to agree with everything that we say. I never
thought about that.
I just have this feeling. And he's got this kind of smile on his face. So no matter what we talk about, he's going to be positive about our show tonight.
Good.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It will be fun. So, Robin, thanks for being with us. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, Dan Carpenter is not with us, so we have a stand-in. Well, maybe not. Maybe we'll just shut that video off.
There you go, Dan.
Yeah. Dan will be back with us, not next week, because next week is our let's see if I can just shut that off. There we go. Next week is our would be our virtual training night, but we'll be back. Dan will be back with us. But we set up a nice little studio area so he could we could have the virtual Dan jumping in with us tonight. So MJ, I want to talk music tonight, and I kind of wanted to dig into that because this is an area in which has evolved from the time that you and I started in this business to what it is today. Specifically talking about the difference between oldies and classics and throwbacks and the whole 10 yards. Because when we first started, oldies were defined as one thing, and that has kind of evolved over the years.
I always tell people, I said, when you first started calling music oldies, how many years prior to you calling it that was that music released? Or when was that music released?
And I think where the first time I actually was hearing that phrase was oldies bands, and they would have been playing 50s and 60s stuff in the probably late, mid to late 80s is really when that came about.
So how many years back is that?
So you're talking 20 to 30 years.
Okay, so right now, let's go back 20 to 30 years. That's 1990 to 2000. Those are oldies. So the kids today are looking at those songs exactly the same as we did as teenagers in the 80s, looking at 50s and 60s songs going, that's so old.
Mm-hmm. And back at that time, there was also, in those early years of us performing, there was even the throwbacks going back into the 40s and the 30s with some big band and swing type music. And I'm wondering, is today's look back, as you say now, oldies becomes the 80s type music. Do we look at 50s and 60s the way does today's generation look at 50s and 60s like we used to look at the big band era music, that it was way, grandparents and beyond's music?
Completely non-relevant.
How so?
It's just so old, it's not relevant.
It just doesn't...
It's not relevant to them.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you always have to go by your age group. I know when I play for some of the college things, I can't go back any more than 10 years. But if someone says play something new and they're in their 30s, they're going to want something that's about 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again always judged on what your audience is, but I'm just judging it on a non-linear time view of things in a measurement that was once started before I started DJing.
Very much so.
Oldies was a 20 to 30 year prior to current date. So you go back 20 to 30 years from current date, that's an oldie. So that's 90s. A throwback has always been 10 years. So a throwback song is 2012.
So let's look at Usher. I think was 2007. Was it with
somewhere around there,
Somewhere in
early
there.
2000s? I thought it was actually earlier than that.
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just trying to remember off the top of this past weekend. And I was looking and when you move it into the virtual DJ, and it shows which disc it was off from promo only. But where does so the throwbacks are like the 10-year-old stuff, and then what is from 10 to 20 years in that realm, which would put us in that mid 2000s, early 2000s.
That to me, again, people are already posting online. I probably should have had my disclaimer at the top of the hour.
It's Lego Dan's fault.
It's not about what they like. We're not talking about that. We're talking about putting the music into genres. That 50s and 60s, even though there was a lot of rock then, I just call it all doo-wop era, because it was that era of music. Like you could say classic rock era. What years does that cover?
Yeah, typically you would think that's putting us through the 70s into the early 80s.
Yeah. So that's the kind of the way I look at, you go back to the doo-wop era. It's anything that falls in that. So the same way you get those in-betweens, the throwbacks and the oldies, it's just an old song, because they can be an old song or in that era, in between, or it can be a throwback. So you can go back 13 years for a throwback, or you can go back 16 years for an oldie, quote unquote. And Robin, it has nothing to do with people of any age, because the next group that comes around is going to be looking at the stuff that's playing right now and calling it throwback and oldies. So that's what you always have to think about, that every 10 years, the stuff that was here 10 years ago is a throwback to these people. So if you're DJing a school dance, a college thing, a bar, 90% of the people at the bar are going to be between 21 and 27. So you look at 10 years prior to that, a 27-year-old right now was 17, had just gotten his driver's license in 2012. So you have to structure that by your audience, not your point of view. And I think that's what makes a good DJ, that they just don't go, oh, this is good, I'm going to show them, or this is from this era, they don't know. It's like, it's about them. It's not about you and your opinion, it's about them.
Mm-hmm. So let's look at that age group, that bar age group. Let's take the 26 and 27-year-olds out, because they're getting to the end, kind of bordering on being old creepy people in bars.
Well, they're going to come out less often. That's more or less the way that goes. They don't come out every single week.
Mm-hmm. But they're really target.
You look at them.
Your target probably 22 to 22, 23, 24 are probably the main age groups. Maybe the 21 obviously are going to be there strong also. But those are the 4 years: 21, 22, 23, 24. In that age group, now let's just look at that. Are they going to define throwbacks differently than a 35-year-old?
Absolutely, because you're going to fit them into that age. So here's a way to kind of look at this. I can't even talk about
Psychological.
There were psychological studies done on people that both in fashion and music get stuck. This is a blanket cover. This is not everybody. It's a blanket cover. Get stuck in the happiest period of their life. And for most people, that's high school or college. That's when they're their freest. Get to do whatever they want. So a lot of people will stick to the music that was that part of that era because it brings back nostalgia to them. Okay? So if you have someone who's 22, okay, you're picking that's the age.
Let's shoot right there. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you pick a person who's 22. They graduated high school, 4 years ago?
Roughly, yeah. All
right. So 5 years ago, they had just started driving. So their nostalgia is going to be like 5 to 7 years ago. And most people are probably watching this show tonight going, 5 to 7 years ago, It was longer than it was since I bought new underwear or something like that. It's that sort of thing. So you can't judge that by your point of view. So my point of view of Throwbacks is as a person is going to be 80s, 90s hip hop. Okay. To a person who's 22, a throwback is going to be Chainsmokers 2012.
Sure.
So it's, again, as a DJ, I keep telling people, especially when it comes to the bars and stuff, it's never about what you want. You have to realize you're trying to make the owner or the manager happier than anybody else in that room. So you will get owners and managers that go, I want this song, and that song's 30 years old. Well, they'll love it. They go and take a drink at that point. Sure. You don't argue with the manager or owner. You just do whatever he asks for. But you kind of, like I said, when you're working with that crowd, you play the new, like I said, for the college ones, I'll be playing new stuff. Like a lot of times, because the way virtual does the search, I can do year range. So I'll do, let's say right now, tonight we're doing a college thing. So I'm going to put in there for current songs, maybe the past 3 years, tops. Mm-hmm. And then if I want to do a throwback, I'll go back to 10 years. Stuff like that. So I'll go back to 2012 to catch throwbacks and catch them on nostalgia. That's their nostalgia.
So now the throwbacks will vary obviously by age. Mm-hmm. So what would we, as, because you and I are just a little bit older than 25, we hear a song from 2012, 10, whatever, which would be kind of a throwback for the younger person. What is that considered in our world at our age?
Again, it's all about what you're viewing it as. If I'm viewing it as a person, it's one thing. If I'm viewing it as a DJ, it's another. Mm-hmm. Like literally as a DJ, I have two different sets of minds when it comes to music. Like I have mine when it comes to opinion, because Robin just said their hip hop is old school. See, I agree with Robin, because in my book, and I'm going to have people in the chat throw stuff at me, and I'm okay if you do. But in my book, the day that Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz picked up a microphone, hip hop died. Everything after that is urban dance, urban radio, urban pop. So hip hop died the first day. So if you go into my computer and you're searching for 2010 hip hop, you won't find a single song. But if you find 2010 urban pop, urban dance, urban remix, then you'll find the Drakes and all those other stuff. What was the question? I'm sorry, I went off in the deep end on that. It's all on how you view it.
A throwback for someone who's in their 40s or whatever would be different.
You're talking about if the crowd in front of you is in their 40s. Mm-hmm. Okay, then you just simply judge it by their high school experience. So for them, if they're so a 40-year-old would have graduated high school in 90 something,
late 90s, yeah.
I would throw 90s out. That's kind of a throwback for them. Kind of an oldies nostalgia sort of thing. Like for them, an oldies would be a 70s song or an 80s when they were kids. Michael Jackson would be an oldies to them. Mm-hmm. But again, you got to look at some of these oldies things and talk about classic. So classic bridges years. So there are certain groups you can drop Spice Girls, even though that's a 90s song, it bridges the gap beyond what it was. So Journey, Don't Stop Believing, bridges the gap of all of them. You get pretty much anybody from any age to sing along with that.
Yeah.
That's where you kind of look at those, that if you're having trouble, those are my hook songs. Mm-hmm. Songs that if I can't get them, I will throw out something that is general across the board, and then I will view the audience's reaction and go, okay, they like really popular songs. So let's try something, if we're going to play something new, let's play something that spent a whole summer on the charts or something like that. So it's the view. So if you're playing to a 40-year-old at the one casino, there are a lot of nights where I literally don't leave the 90s because that's all they want to hear.
Sure.
That's when they were in high school, late 90s, early 2000s. That's all they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny to me, because to them it's just a little kickback. Remember when? But to me as a DJ, I'm looking back, I'm like, that's 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. That was played on CDs. Nobody plays CDs anymore. Well, it's that sort of thing.
Some of us do.
I know. I had a guy asking me stuff about that today. Good friend of mine.
So we kind of defined the throwbacks then, the songs that would be during those happy years of high school, early college. So looking at that at time of life, where would oldies be? Is that going to be our younger, like 10 and under, or is that going to be things that are influenced from our parents would be considered oldies?
Oh, again, viewing it from a DJ, oldies is just old. That's the only difference to it. Doesn't matter if it's popular or not. So for me, 80s back, oldies.
Okay.
But 80s, see, here's the weird thing. 80s were such a defined era in music, in my opinion, was so different that you can just say 80s, and that's a genre like saying doo-wop or classic rock.
Sure.
I kind of think it like that. But if you say, hey, let's play some older music for these people in our adults, I'm going to drop back to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hanson Mbop is definitely an oldies. About 5-7 years ago, I could drop that at a college bar and get everyone and their brother to sing along because that was when they were kids.
Yeah.
Little things like that you can grab some stuff, but because that you're only going to catch that age group with that. You're not going to catch a 40-year-old singing, Mbop. It's not going to be a nostalgia thing to them.
So getting into songs that are from anywhere over the decades that have made, like you said, Journey, Don't Stop Believing, where it is that song that kind of works regardless of age.
Transcends ages.
Where are those songs right now? Where are you finding that people are finding these songs? Is it just a random thing, or are they finding them like TV shows, movies? Where are the most?
Believe it or not, with a certain age group, you're going to get a lot of stuff that's played at weddings becomes that. Because they're going to hear them at every wedding they go to, and people in their 20s are going to a lot of weddings, a lot more than I am. Their friends are getting married, they're going to weddings, and the DJs are playing that. So you are going to get a lot of that exposure from stuff like that.
Sure.
With TikTok, it's different because you are getting exposure to older music, but 99.99999% of the time, they've never heard the whole song.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go out and try to play a 3-minute old song, they're going to look at you they're going to look at you prior to the chorus like you're crazy. They're going to love you at the chorus, and they're going to go, what the heck is this after the chorus?
More of the song. Is there a song that's that we as over 40 would recognize that is? I don't follow the TikTok stuff that much. My kids aren't into it. They are busy doing other things with their social media. Are there songs that have come out and have been TikTok songs that we would know and we would appreciate the whole song, but that this younger generation's like, I would just want the refrain? Anything that jumps out at you? And even those of you in the chat, if there's something that you are thinking of.
It changes constantly. Let me think here.
Because that's been a tough area, because I actually had some youngsters at, not this past weekend's wedding, but the one before, where someone came up and said, hey, can you play a couple of songs that were popular on TikTok? I'm like,
this is the wonderful thing about all this, that you can go to whatever download service you have. And if you have a good download service, and I'm saying it that way intentionally, they have TikTok lists that you can follow each week. I'm just picking one up here because I just kind of grab them as I go. You can just kind of see them jump up and down. So this is Spotify's TikTok virals of, I can share this, I guess.
Yeah.
Hold on here. Let me move this out of the way. Oops, we're going to move. I'm moving screens everywhere. Switching screens. Now I can do this. Let me share that. Okay, from TikTok. That was popular. That one is so weird. The Heat Waves Glass Animal, that it hung on forever. Smells Like Teen Spirit's another Run Back. Run Up That Hill, we all know that one came from because of Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
This one was a weird one for a while. I got tired of playing that one because I was joking around with people about songs that repeat themselves in the lyrics. And we had, what was that one song? Oh crap! I was talking to a friend of mine about it. That the songs just tend to repeat themselves, and we should just put them all together in something.
Well, the one that was our first big experience to that was a song from MC Hammer, Pray, where he said it, 100 and some times in the.
Well, sorta.
Yeah.
Hold on here, if I can find it. It's gonna bug me if I don't do this. Crap. So I'm looking at this. Look at the list while I'm doing there, while I find this. Gucci Gang. So you have songs like Gucci Gang, Body, 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 Jiggle, Jiggle, stuff like that we're going to put together here. A lot of these are kind of weird how they do. This was last year. So these are, well, this is 22. A lot of these I wouldn't play. So I'm not going to play a TikTok song unless it is something. Bad Habits. That's an easy one to bring back. Leap of Faith. That one you can do. Seven Nation Army is another one that it's its own thing.
That's a nice way to say it. It's its own thing.
Just that's about all you really want to do. Crap. See, none of these are, to me, are jumping out of stuff that I would play to catch people. Like none of these are ones that I would do. Do another search here. If there's throwing something out there, yeah, Moni Moni. We have to put all those together. Moni Moni, Jiggle Jiggle, Body Body, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang. Gucci Gang. See what this one comes up to here. Busta Rhymes. I see that one. Another one I wouldn't probably go to. 9 a.m. till you come. That's an old one. Actually, that one's come back because somebody remade that. There's been a couple of ATB songs that have been remade. This is 20 years ago that somebody remade, and I just heard one of them today. So those, again, taking a song that you may go, oh, geez, that was techno, the trance era of Sandstorm. That's old. That's really old. This song is really old now. It's brought back again. So imagine Mick Jagger doing something in the 80s where he was looking like Dancing in the Street with him and what's his name?
David Bowie.
A song from 20 years ago and brought back. See, again, I don't go to these too much, here and there, but not too often. So I'm not the best expert on that.
Yeah, and that's an area that I just haven't had much of any interest or call or
because
request.
Again, to play them, you're only going to play a short bit, and that's the weird thing. That's I mean, look, I'm looking up some other people are saying here on chat here.
But I think your point about that younger generation being, because they're hitting so many weddings and getting their wedding music on, I think that's a great thing for us to keep in mind, because I was noticing, because we've got a group of people now who really didn't hit too many weddings, because they, especially the younger weddings I've done here, they didn't do any in 2020, and 2021 was not a bunch. So as an example, they have no idea what the how to do the cha-cha slide. It's like the people who are a little bit older, 25 and above, they knew how to do the cha-cha slide. The younger ones haven't experienced it, and if they didn't experience it at a high school dance, certainly they wouldn't have seen it. Cupid Shuffle has been hit and miss also, but it was more hit than miss compared to the cha-cha slide. I bet if I would run into the same group of people in August after they've been to 4 weddings this summer, they will be much more fluent on some of those songs and what to do during those songs.
Right around 2019, 2021, I was finding in the school dances that the kids were knowing how to do Macarena better than the others, because that was a throwback song. That's an old Oldies song to them. Yeah. So it would be like the chicken dance to some other people, or go, oh, I remember doing this when I was a kid. They did Macarena when they were, 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it's again, I keep saying, and I talked about this in articles and I talk about it in my book, that our job is to manipulate people, and you're manipulating them by feelings. You're manipulating them by nostalgia. You're manipulating them by energy of song. You're in control of that crowd. If you're a good DJ, you grab them and you don't let them go. You turn over the floor when you want to turn over the floor, and bring it back when you want to bring it back. It's not just about, this is a hot song, I'll play this song, because if that's how you think, then you're going to be a one-song DJ. You're not going to be an hour-long DJ where people are like, I got to take a break, I got to pee, please play something I don't like. If you've never experienced that, then you maybe are just a button presser for all I know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know I'm being way over opinionated. I apologize if I'm insulting anybody, but it is a continually changing game. And that's the thing I think about as DJs get older, they have trouble looking at, like right now, going, oh, I'm going to play some 50 Cent. 50 Cent was hot. 50 Cent was hot 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can't play that at a bar where there's 21 to 27-year-olds. You know, they're not going to care.
And I think one of
a throwback is Lil Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. That would have been right in that time frame where the other wasn't. But even with at Super Bowl when you had Dre and the crew there, I thought we would have at least some requests coming for some of the music from that era. And it's looking like that era is kind of falling through the cracks right now as far as the that would have been a throwback a couple of years ago, a few years back.
Hold on here. If I can spell.
Mm-hmm.
So Eminem's 8 Mile came out when? 2002. So that lets all of that era of stuff fall into that in between.
Mm-hmm.
So as you said about looking back at an oldie song or looking back at a throwback, it's an in between. So you might be able to catch it with some people from the 90s. You're probably not going to be able to catch that with people who want to hear 2010 as a throwback.
Yeah.
You know?
So it really falls into that weird area, which if you're the Super Bowl, you know, you're looking for that person who's 30 some years old, 30 to 45, which would kind of catch that crowd, most likely. And that works for them from our standpoint.
That era, that Super Bowl was made for the kids of today's parents.
Mm-hmm.
That was what their parents, because you got to figure 20 years ago, if someone is 30, you have your kids in your 20s. I don't know. So I don't have kids. So I don't even know. So let's say, you know, if you, how old are you? 25?
Yeah, most of the time around 25 to 30 is the.
So 2002, you've been pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's say your kids are now 10. That takes you to, because we're not talking about first having the kids. So you're around 30, 35, looking back 30 years.
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
and that put you right in that sweet spot that we're talking about during those high school years. So it was really aimed for families that have kids in the 10 to 15 age group, probably.
You know, the kids were old enough to be watching the Super Bowl with them. So we're going to it's all about advertising. So they don't care about anything other than selling products. You understand that when it comes to all this stuff, it's about money. So they're trying to go, how can we get the most people to pay attention to these commercials? Let's have this here because we know they're going to be watching it with their kids.
Yeah, and I think you can see the targeting in that situation tremendously. And over the years, even as you've tried to watch and play that game of, okay, so why did they pick this artist? Was it for an altruistic purpose of showing diversity in their performances, or is it because of aiming for a specific target age group?
Money.
And after the money for that advertising.
That's the only thing that matters to any of them. It's all about the money. Same thing I say about politicians. Don't ever think that a politician, a movie star, a television show is about making you happy. It's about them making money. If they could make money off you being a miserable human being to the end of your day, they would work out how to make you a miserable human being to the end of your day. It's as simple as that. It's about money. If you don't think the world spins that way, let's talk. I got some stuff for sale.
Yeah, exactly. What color's the sky in it? Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So let's jump back into that where you were talking basically current hits that are current in this for this crowd, whatever this crowd we're at. So let's stick with the bar one. You said that was going back 2 years. You would be considered still current.
For a new song. Yeah. To someone, if you wanted to play something new for them, a couple of years is all the further I'd go back to hit them with new songs.
Okay.
Now, if you're doing college age, a year, you got to play 20, 30 minutes of stuff that came out 6 months ago to a year at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And you better have all of them. I don't care if they were a hit or only were played twice, you got to play them. They want to hear this version of this person's song, even though it didn't even crack the top 20, because it's what their age group was listening to.
Sure.
So it's a game. You're just constantly moving pieces around. It's people think they want a button down, blocked off. I want to pick this up and use this, so I know if I use this crate of music, I'll be perfectly okay. But it's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can twist. I was playing the other night. I have a couple songs. One of them does, and these are old now, where it takes AC/DC, Rock You All Night Long, and Fergie's Humps. What you gonna do with all that? Okay, that one. That one grabs two generations.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always do that, but if you have the right crowd, you can grab both generations. I have people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, watch. And you will get them both singing along together, and you join them together. And sometimes you can do that and then drop into something that's super awesomely popular, like Journey or something, and then maybe come out of that with a line dance or something like that, to where you're manipulating them to be together for different reasons. You have your little I want you to be this for 3 minutes, and I want you to be this for 3 minutes. I want you to be this for 3 minutes. And then they look up and it's been 20 minutes since they've even thought about anybody but their own feet on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our job.
So amount of song played, we mentioned with the TikTok, it's a chorus and out type of a thing at most. When it comes to the throwbacks for a certain age group or a current for a certain age group, is the amount of song that you play, does it vary by, in essence, the location of the song in their life, whether it's a throwback or whether it would be a classic to them or whether it would be a current?
I want to ask other questions to be more specific about that. Now, when you say length of song,
if you're
quick mixing, an album cut?
Yeah, probably more album cut, because that's what I think most DJs that are watching our shows are going to be utilizing album cuts from the music services. I mean, obviously there's quick mixes and things along that line.
It all depends. Again, this is all about being a DJ. There is no cookie cutter for this. So I'm going to do something. Let's say I'm going to play a song that I think they're going to like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I start it. And if they look bored, being a good DJ, you can mix out of it. But then you have to remember they got bored with that. So the next one, I'm going to do short. And if they're okay with that, that means I'm probably going to do more shorts than longs.
Mm-hmm.
If they're a crowd that looks at you when you get out of that song like you're from outer space, you better start playing at least 2 verses, 2 choruses, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely ever go to the third verse on any song ever.
Sure.
Unless it's something I'm just kind of sitting back, like sometimes at the casinos, we're just kind of playing background music at some of the nights, and I just play the whole song,
sure.
Maybe. So it kind of varies. We're talking about the TikTok songs. I want to make sure. So I went over to BPM Supreme
mm-hmm.
and just typed in TikTok, and there are TikTok club edits. So people have done songs that are popular and made TikTok versions of them. I can't see it without downloading it. I can't see the length on them, but they're probably really short. They're probably what's known as hook first. So there's a lot of songs that to get people out on there, you don't play into the song from the beginning. You do hook first, then it goes into the song, so you catch them right off the bat, so they know what you're doing. I know I'm probably not even answering anybody's questions.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Because there's just, to me, I can't give a cut and dry thing because it changes constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, again, that's what I think makes a good DJ, where you don't get stuck in one era and going, well, this is good. This song's always worked. What worked 2 years ago may not work now. What worked a year ago may not work now. So you kind of have to be very flexible and eyes open to the charts, eyes open to downloading. If you have 2 versions of a song, go get a remix of it to keep it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your eyes open to the crowds in front of you. You can have a crowd. A perfect example is John played Vanilla Ice at a prom, and it went really well. But if his son would have played that, and literally weeks later, wasn't it, or a week later, If he would have played it at one of his, that would not have gone
Yeah,
off.
exactly. It depends on where we're at.
It's the crowd. I think it's easier today to kind of get across the board, because back then the only way you heard music is by what the radio station shoved down your throat.
Right.
So if they didn't play it, you didn't know it existed. Nowadays, you literally, and here's an interesting thing. I had a hankering, again, I'll admit this, to listen to Elton John's songs. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I let because I use YouTube Music, which is the same as Spotify, but it's through YouTube. I like it because I can do whole DJ mixes. You can hear a whole mix instead of song by song. I let it play whatever it wanted to afterwards. And because he did that song with Dua Lipa, it was grabbing some newer stuff that was in that same vibe. So in the same sense, someone could have thrown a Dua Lipa on Spotify and brought around an Elton John that they went, oh, that's kind of cool. So that is the advantage. My friend Chris owned a bunch of radio stations. He said when Apple came out with the shuffle button, he said it completely changed how radio stations program their music.
Sure.
Because before, if you had rock, you got to play rock after it, buy some rock, and then some rock, and then you can change it up a little bit. But now you can do rock followed by Frank Sinatra, followed by Run DMC, followed by Dua Lipa, if they mix well together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, that you have to be flexible, in my opinion.
Sure.
That's what that kind of comes about. That's what makes a good DJ with this. And I don't think that people who look for a playlist to be the answer, that's not reality. It's a good guide, mm-hmm. but you have to try it out for the things you are and be flexible enough to go, this is bombing. I'm getting out of this.
Right.
It's scary, if you have a whole crowd in front of you that just all of a sudden thinks you're stupid for playing a song, you feel stupid.
Yeah.
And you have to do something to try to get them back. Always throw in your little side list, always throw some stuff that's a guaranteed hit, just in case,
Just in case the ego takes a shot and you need to...
Yeah, you've got to have these things, you got to try stuff. That's why I say mixing is important, because if, let's say it's a song that bombs and you just slam out of it, you think it's okay, but psychologically you have then put a hiccup in their mind that they don't even know it's a hiccup, mm-hmm. but it's a hiccup and they're not following you as much.
Sure.
But if you do that transition, they're going to go, oh, he must have liked that song. That's why he wanted to play just a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. And you get out and you go to the next one, and you don't lose them over that switch out. It's not a hiccup. It's not a stop, a pause. It's not a slam. It's okay, we were there. Now we're here. I'm excited
mm-hmm.
to be here now.
Yeah. Where you're seeming to intentionally take them on that journey as opposed to...
you can fake that up all you want. Absolutely. Like, no. I played that because it's wordplay with this song. Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, they both have a vowel in it, so that was complete wordplay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they both had notes in the song.
Exactly, and it worked well.
Any questions from the chat, or John? Where do you want to go with this? I mean, I don't want to say my opinion is the rule. I just think it's what's kept me going so long, is the being so flexible and knowing all of it and willing to play stuff that you hate on a regular basis. You just got to be able to mix music and be able to go with the thing. If you're doing it just to show the music you love, you're going to be limited, I think.
And I think tonight's discussion, one of the big things I wanted to get out there is how we define those years of a person's musical taste that are from that junior high through college age. That in this case, we were referring to that as their throwback years for adults that have those years. And I think that's a big thing that we have to keep in mind, because those of us who have been here for a while, we've gone through multiple evolutions of that, where that used to be playing Karma Chameleon, and that used to be playing NSYNC, and now that it's changed and continually changes. I mean, this past weekend's wedding, I believe the parents in both cases were in their 40s. Well, that means that to a point, they're younger than me, and they don't have my idea of what is an oldie or a throwback is going to be different than what theirs were. So it is an evolving thing. And sometimes, because, God gosh darn it, my 80s always works. Jesse's Girl works in every crowd. Why didn't it work tonight? Well, it might be that they just haven't had that experience or that knowledge with the song at a level. Granted, Jesse's Girl has been a popular wedding song or used for quite a long time, but it doesn't do as well today as it did 10 years ago. Yeah. At least in my opinion.
Good example of that. You said the parents are 40.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they would have been in high school.
Well, they would put them in high school and graduating in the late 90s.
Okay. So for them, think about when you were, for any DJs that are like John and I's age, think about when you were DJing in the 90s and you would have went back 20 years. What songs would you have been playing? So let's say it's 1990 and you go at someone who's 40 in 1990. What would you be playing?
Well, I would have been playing from that disco, the latter disco years. That would have really been what most likely would have hit with that group. And if it wasn't that, unfortunately, it was country. Those are the two options that we really had at that particular time. Is that you had some people who, if they were dancing, they liked rock, but they weren't going to be my dancers. If they were dancers, they were either dancing to country in the early 90s or they were dancing to kind of a disco or that type of music, and that was pretty much it. Bubblegum pop for that 40-year-old wasn't quite there yet. They just wasn't on their radar.
Yeah. So as you as that DJ in 1990 thought back like that, and then that wouldn't have been all that old in your mind. Mm-mm. So you have to now switch gears and go, I'm not my age. I'm that age of the people, the 40-year-olds that I'm DJing for.
Yeah.
What was popular when I was in high school, mm-hmm. when you put yourself in their mind?
Yeah, and now that I'm that age, and that's where, in this particular case, Sir Mix-a-Lot did very well. Vanilla Ice did very, very well. Young MC was a request. And that those were songs that they knew every word, and they sang along and did their dance, and they were horribly bad, as most people our age are, but that's okay. They had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
But those were the songs that hit them in that sweet spot.
That's all it becomes. That's why I get some DJs go off the deep end about labeling music as throwbacks, as oldies, as this. I just kind of, like I said, I just throw them in there from when I started. If you had someone that was in 1960, what would they have called an oldies song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they probably would have been back 20, 30 years.
Yeah, they would have gone before the rock and roll era of that 1954 time frame, because there was such a drastic change in that short period of time that would have been a defining thing as after or before.
50s are a good genre. When I talk about, sometimes you can put a genre as a decade, like 80s mm-hmm. can just be put into a genre. 50s are kind of the same way too. You can kind of go 50. Let's play some 50s music, and you're gonna kind of hit a ballpark there without labeling it rock or pop or swing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's just look at your crowd. To me, like I said, they are a living, breathing being in front of you.
Very much so. Yeah.
And you're in charge of their joy for that night. So are you going to say, like, if someone comes to your house and you want to make them happy, are you going to cook the food that you like? Or are you going to cook the food they like?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're kind of doing a little bit. You're cooking up some musical fun that is for them.
So you're saying that when everyone comes over, I can't make peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh, dude, you have no idea. I would be there. I ate so much peanut butter and jelly when I was a kid. My mom said, if you had cut me, I'd have bled peanut butter and jelly. Like, literally. I had somebody ask me one day, what's your favorite food? I said peanut butter. And they're like, well, that's not a favorite food. I'm like, well, what do you consider a favorite food? I'm like, I don't know. I'd say like sirloin steak or something. I'm like, I still want peanut butter. That's my favorite food.
It's got to be a good peanut butter.
So see, I have trouble finding bad peanut butter because I like it all so much. I've rarely had bad peanut butter because I like them all so much. So, what were we saying? I don't even know. I know we're almost the top of the hour, but again, you guys, I want to be an encouragement to you, because if you're not having fun DJing, you got to rethink it. And if it's upsetting you to play new music, find a way to play it where you're okay with it, you know, to work with that. Vibe off the audience. Get your joy from their joy, not from the songs that suck.
Yeah.
Because it's always going to be that way. You know,
and that's a really good point, is because there are some songs that I don't care to play for whatever reason, Tom Petty. But yet when you see the reaction from the crowd, that they will go, you know, crazy and they're singing along, and it's like, okay, I can enjoy their enjoyment, even though this.
Yeah, you can be happy for them.
Yes, I can't be happy to play this song, but I can be happy for them since they're having such a good time.
You're like, wow, I just made a whole bunch of people happy.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I played it with played it using Megaseg, the crowd was incredibly pumped. So we're going to wrap up here, but I wanted to talk a minute about Megaseg. This past weekend, I ended up having to do two sound systems, one for the ceremony, one for the inside. And I have the 16-inch laptop that we used in Las Vegas to do the video recording and do the switching and such. And I thought, oh, there's got to be a DJ app on there of some sort. So I had all the songs. I set up everything inside in my main computer. I moved all the songs over to a thumb drive, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to take them out to that computer, and there's got to be something on there. Virtual's got to be on there. No, I didn't have Virtual installed. Okay, great. Well, there's got to be a version of DJ, because I purchased a version of DJ, the app from Algorithm. I purchased a long time ago. So I should be able to go and download that. But no, that doesn't work anymore, because now it's DJ AI. I don't know how in the world I'm going to find the old version that I had actually paid for. So I might be done there too. So I was looking around of what to do. And for this wedding, I actually went and I made my playlist in iTunes and played it on iTunes. And basically when I needed to bounce to the next song, it was a forward arrow. Play and pause were handled by the space bar. Nobody in the crowd knew that I wasn't using a full DJ program. It went flawlessly and such. But I got to say, I've been Virtual, and my main laptop has all three apps on there: Virtual, Megaseg, and DJ. I was weighing it out. Do I spend the $299 to buy another? Because I've got my main laptop and I've got my MacBook Air that have Virtual. Those are my two licenses there. Should I buy another Virtual license? Should I buy a Megaseg license? And so I ended up putting Megaseg on that one, because there's some things when I'm doing ceremonies, having that hard break when it gets to the end of the song, so it doesn't go to the next song, where I can have the playlist going and set it so that it's going to stop right when I want it to stop, type of thing. So yeah, I ended up actually going and buying another license.
Just to throw it in there, so you know, John, you can have Virtual on every laptop you want, but it will be logged into one.
That's my thing, and that's something too concerning for me, and I just don't want to mess with it.
Well, I meant what I meant as in, let's say the one at home is just sitting there. All you're going to do is log into this one, and it automatically logs you out of that one.
And what I've got the two licenses that I have, one on my main MacBook, and then I have the MacBook Air, which are both activated and ready to go. Add a main one, and then if that goes down for some reason, then I've got the Mac Air.
Oh, you already okay?
Yeah. So it was really, do I go get a third version?
Here's something to throw at you too. Was the second or third one running from the laptop only, no controller?
I've got a controller of some sort with all of them.
Okay, because if you don't have a controller hooked up and you just want to run it by keyboard, you don't have to have a license. You can run it fully without the license,
and just using
not plugged into something. But if you're plugged into it, you get 10 minutes at a time at the the non-signed in. But if you just want to go that way, always keep that in mind.
Yeah, well, that's
Virtual has all the answers.
That's very interesting. I didn't realize that with that, but yeah, it's still was interesting. I spent my Sunday hemming and hawing, and then I walked away and came back, and then went and do something else, came back.
But it's good for you to have all those. So that's why I try to tell people, try stuff. Because it may fit something that you don't know that you need.
Yeah.
If you try it and and that night comes and you need it, you've got it.
And again, with Virtual on my main computer, it runs wonderfully, and it's been flawless for me on that computer. Michael's had some issues, but I think that's been a hard drive issue. But it's
or people coming and picking up your hard drive.
Yeah, there is that. But that's another.
I missed that story. Go watch the show from last week or week before, and he tells the story of
Yeah, somebody.
Disconnecting hard drives.
Yeah, what's this? Oh, no, don't do that, child. Go back. All right, so DJNTV.com/chill. I should put that into the chat. DJNTV.com/chill. Howie is going to be leading the Hanging Out with Howie time. That is going to be coming up here next in about 10 minutes. They go and they do a weekly recording at 10 o'clock Eastern on Monday nights. Then on Tuesday nights, there is the Tuesday Night Music Show with Jay Bryan and Howie, and they do the same thing at DJNTV.com/chill. So you guys can bounce out there and listen to the show. Sometimes they get people to join them, whatever. You guys just kind of go and hang out and veg and have a good time with that. Then those recorded shows are put up tomorrow night. The Howie show from 2 weeks ago will go live, and then Wednesday the Brian, the Tuesday Night Music Show from a couple of weeks ago will go live. So that way, if you haven't seen them in the recording, you'll be able to see them in replay. Yeah. So next week is scheduled as of right now. It's the virtual training night. There's a slight chance that we may have to change that just because my daughter she has track camp, and we're trying to figure out who's going to be able to get her back and forth to track camp, which is up in Fargo, which is 2.5 hours away.
I was going to say, can't she run to track camp?
she could, but it's a sprinting camp, and running the
that would kind of
170 miles is a little bit long. Probably could do it, but she may not have much gas after she gets there. So anyway, so we'll just keep an eye out on things. We'll have it all figured out and publishing what's going to happen for the next week and such, and we can take it from there. So we'll have some sort of report, and that might be later this week or early next week on what went on in Chicago. Right now, they're getting ready. Tomorrow, the educational part starts for the Marquee Show. Today was some master classes, and they're getting things all set up and ready to go. If you're in the Chicago area, you can still check it out, marqueeshow.com. They've got some tickets available if you want to go watch it. If nothing else, go check out the exhibit hall area. They've got quite a few exhibitors that weren't anywhere else this year, so it's kind of cool that they've been able to get some support from our industry from companies that have been without product, unfortunately, is the best way to describe it. So it'll be kind of fun to hear what comes out of Chicago. So anything else, MJ?
I don't think so. Somebody asked me when my book's coming out. It's on hold because I decided to record the audiobook.
Yes.
So that's what we're doing now. So
you've been working on that and
on
this process. Excellent. Well, keep us up to date on what's going on with that. So, gang, thank you much for being with us tonight. Hope you guys had a good evening. And again, DJNTV.com/chill. Go out and hang out with Howie and the crew, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.